So, for my biotechnology in Hollywood presentation, I am doing the movie Minority Report. Basically, the whole background of this movie is that there is a department of pre-crime. Pre-crime meaning that they could predict when a crime is going to happen and they stop the crime before it happens. This movie was staged in 2054 and it centers around the department of pre-crime led by Chief John Anderson, played by Tom Cruise. So basically, they have precogs, which are mutated humans that basically tell the future before it actually happens. So they will tell you a crime, the victim, and sometimes the perpetrator, and sometimes the perp, which will come in usually later than the victims of the crime. So basically what they would do is use certain clues and location to find out when this crime will happen or where it will happen. While doing his job one day, Anderson was interrupted by the Department of Justice agent Danny Whitworth, who is played by Colin Farrell. He was trying to scope out if there was any flaws with the pre-crime system, which he believed humans were the flaw. Whitworth found out that Anderson was a drug addict and he was doping. He was doping since his son died, which was about 6 years ago as well. So he found out that he was doping. So he decided he found the flaw of the whole system. After Whitworth found out about the doping problem that Anderson had, Anderson was viewing a future crime and he noticed that they couldn't see the perpetrator yet. He was viewing the footage of the whole crime and he found out that Anderson was supposed to be the perpetrator himself. So he was, of course, he tried to hide this as much as he can, but Wally, the person who takes care of the precogs, found out and told him that he has 2 minutes to run before he has to hit the alarm. So Anderson bolted and he was so insistent that he was really innocent and everything like that because he didn't even know who the victim was. Leo Crow didn't know who it was at all, so he was just very confused. So in this society in 2054, they have scanners in all public places. These scanners will scan your eyes and know your identity. He was found at every public area he was that scanned his eyes. So cops tried getting him, and even Whitworth tried getting him, but he escaped. He ended up going to Dr. Iris Hinneman's place, the creator of the precogs, who is played by Lois Smith. And he ended up asking her, what happened with the precogs? Is there, since she was the doctor, he wanted to know why he was being framed for this murder, that he didn't even know the guy. So she ended up telling him that she created the precogs by mistake, that she was trying to heal kids whose parents were drug addicts, and they ended up having nightmares every night about murders, and these murders ended up coming true. So that's when she finally sold them to pre-crime and ended up telling them that these kids could tell the future. The 3 kids being Art, Dash, and Agatha. There's 3 of them. These 3 work together to tell the future. However, if one of them is missing, they cannot work. They cannot tell the future. So she ended up telling him about the Minority Report. So the Minority Report relates to one of them seeing an alternative future of a crime. So they say that if one of them sees differently, they usually delete that data so it wouldn't be seen because it's called the Minority Report. It's usually, you even can see it in laws, majority always rules. So basically she was telling him, you have to find the Minority Report because maybe that will give you an alternative outcome. So Anderson continued to ask, how do I find the Minority Report? She said, go to the most talented one, which she said was the female, which was Agatha. So of course John just can't go back to pre-crime just looking like himself because he will get scanned everywhere with his eyes. So he ends up going to a black market doctor to get his eyes removed, which was probably not the best idea. So because he ends up finding out that this doctor who's going to remove his eyes and replace them, he put in jail a couple of years ago. So he wasn't in the best of luck. But hey, he ended up getting new eyes. But the funny thing is that the cops that he used to work for, the pre-crime cops who were on the lookout for him, could detect warm bodies within a building. So they went to the building that he was resting in after his surgery, of course, because he couldn't take his bandages off after 12 hours after his surgery, new eyes. So basically they went to the building that he was staying at, and they they kind of scanned the building for warm bodies, and they found out that there was 27 warm bodies in the building. However, the little spiders that they had, they call it spiders because it's SPYDER, because they spy on people. They will go throughout the building and scan people's eyes to see if it was him or not. So they went throughout the building until they couldn't find this one warm body. So what did he do? He filled the ice bath, put water in it, went in, because then technically he's a cold body. So they lost him for a second. Cops were about to come into the room that he was in. And then, he couldn't take off his bandages because he just got eye surgery. So then the spiders finally come into the bathroom that he was in and scan his eyes. They weren't fully ready, but they were ready enough. And it ends up scanning that he is a different person. So they finally say, oh, he's not in this building, and they leave. So finally he has to go back to pre-crime to get the female precog, Agatha. So then when he goes, he takes a shot. He puts it right here, he takes a shot, and it transforms his face. So basically, he changes his face and enters the building, but he remembered to keep one of his eyeballs so he could scan himself into the building. So he scans himself into the building and ends up going back to Wally, the one who pressed the alarm on him in the first place, and just taking Agatha since Whitworth was right there to find him. So he brings Agatha to one of his technologist friends, and he finds out that he doesn't have a minority report, so this was his actual future. Of course, this upset him, and he was screaming at Agatha to show him more of the future, but instead she showed him a glimpse of this woman being drowned and lively. And she was saying, "Can you see it? Can you see it?" And Lively was played by Jessica Harper. So she keeps asking him, "Can you see it? Can you see it?" And he's like, "Yeah," but he cannot see who the perpetrator was at all. So the cops do end up trying to search for Agatha and Anderton, yeah. So they continue to go look for them, but Agatha couldn't predict the future. So she knows step by step how to hide from the cops, obviously, because she can tell the future. She can know their every movement. So they end up finding Leo Crow and his hotel room. So then when they enter the hotel room, Anderton finds a bunch of pictures of multiple children on Leo's hotel's bed. And of course, he finds a picture of his son, Sean. Sean is played by Tyler Jones, who was killed. We don't know the truth, honestly. He was kidnapped while they were at a pool, and he never saw his son again. This was 6 months prior to the creation of pre-crime, which always haunts Anderton, of course. So he goes at Crow, "Why do you have a picture of my son on your bed?" Sorry. And Crow continues this act like, "I killed your son," like this and that. "I took him away that day." So then it looks like Anderton is gonna kill him. And instead of shooting him, he places him under arrest and reads him his rights, which upsets Crow for some reason, and he's like, "You're supposed to kill me." So then Crow admits that he got a call from this person, doesn't name who the person is, to say that he killed Anderton's son, which he didn't, that if he said that and he was shot by Anderton, that he would actually, like, his family would be supported for, which his family needed at that time. So it was all one big setup, and Anderton was being set up. Crow ended up taking the gun and pulling the trigger himself, which looked like Anderton killed him, but no, he ended his own life. So of course the cops are all over this, but the cops seem to think that it was a setup as well, because why would he lay out all pictures of children on his bed? Like, that just doesn't make sense. That looks like a big setup. Forensics. But yeah, it just looked like one big setup. So they ended up trying to review the thing, but they still think that Anderton ended up killing him, but he tried to make it look like, I don't know. They just try to blame it all on Anderton because, Whitworth just wanted to blame Anderton for being the flaw in the pre-crime thing, Whitworth then proceeds to call the director Lamar, who's played by Max von Sydow. And he ends up explaining about this murder of Anne Lively. So then Whitworth keeps watching it. He's like, they think that it's a repeat because the three precogs are like thinking it all the time and everything, but two of them see it one way and Agatha sees the other way. So they start thinking, I think someone knew that this crime was going to be stopped, so when it was being stopped, someone did it instead. So it was really confusing and everything, but basically what he was trying to say was that since they already knew the crime was going to happen, someone basically did a copycat of that crime. So it was a copycat killer who actually killed Anne Lively. We also find out that Anne Lively is Agatha's real mother, who was a drug addict but cleaned up her act and was gonna take Agatha back from pre-crime. This was very upsetting because Agatha is basically the key component of the pre-crime. So since Whitworth keeps like connecting the dots with the whole Anne Lively, the director shoots him, which seems a little sus. Why was Whitworth shot? Why was he killed? I'm just saying, seemed a little suspicious there, but... So after the whole Crow murder, Agatha and Anderson end up escaping to Laura's house, who is his ex-wife, who is also played by Catherine Morris. And he ends up seeking refuge. But Laura calls the director and tells the director that Anderson is there with Agatha, that the cops are also called, and Anderson is arrested for the crime of Leo Crow, and Whitworth is blamed on that crime because who did it? The director did it. And who is the director gonna just put, the blame on? The guy who just killed Leo Crow. But then a couple minutes afterwards, the director stayed at Laura's house, and Laura ended up finding out that he was the one who killed Anne Lively. It was all because he wanted to keep Agatha, because she was the key component for the pre-crime, system. So he did it just to keep Agatha. And Anderson ended up confronting the director. The director ends up killing himself at the end because he knows that the future can be changed. And now since Anderson knows the future and the director knows the future, the director just takes the easy way out and commits suicide. And the pre-crime system is shut down because you know what? You cannot change fate. And that's it. Fate and free will. That's really it. So like I was saying before, you cannot change fate. That's what I got from the theme of the movie. I really thought it was, why change fate, because fate and free will is what keeps a society going. So the reality scale on this movie, it depends. There's certain aspects of the movie where I would say, hey, this can happen in the next couple of years. Taking this is in 2054 and we are in the year 2020, that is about 35 years from now. But there's some aspects that we can totally see coming in the future. I don't know about the whole mutating humans to predict the future. Yes, we have psychics and all that, but I don't think we can mutate humans in a way that they can just predict a murder before it actually happens. I think that's a really unrealistic, I would say, because I don't think you can mutate people so they can see future crimes. I really don't think so. Maybe we could have psychics in the future who could tell when a crime is gonna happen. Other than that, I saw high-tech cars that drive themselves. We see a lot of cars that drive themselves these days, so I feel that is something very realistic in this movie. Also with the spiders, like I talked about, I feel one day we are gonna have something that could scan humans to see who exactly we are. We do have fingerprints right now that can scan our identity, so I feel that's pretty realistic too. However, there is that whole I changed my eyes so I'm a different identity thing. I don't know about that. I understand the shot to change your face, because we already could get facial reconstruction to make us look like someone else. But I wouldn't say changing your eye to change your identity. But I don't really think changing fingerprints is gonna be a thing either. It might be one day. Also, the cops had jetpacks, which I always thought that was gonna be a thing in the future. Oh yeah, we're just gonna be riding jetpacks. But now I look at it, and that's another thing that I don't find realistic. I don't think it's gonna be a normal thing where people are just riding jetpacks. However, one thing that I didn't think the movie really used a lot was artificial intelligence, which I thought they were kind of implying when they said that flaws of this department is that it's run by humans. I think they were like implying it and everything, but I didn't really think that they were gonna use such like a lack of artificial intelligence. This can happen, but with artificial intelligence involved, not with humans. Like, I don't think humans could do this kind of stuff. I think it's just mostly artificial intelligence. It was 2002, maybe they didn't believe in that stuff. I don't know, I was born in 2002, so I really wouldn't know. I also feel like another realistic aspect of this movie is the tracking warm bodies within a building. I think we have thermal vision, which helps track warm like entities. Well, it might not only be like human beings, it might be like animals too and everything, but I feel like that was very realistic as well. The realistic meter, a 4, but like on the overall thing, like, oh, pre-crime, you could tell the future before a crime happens. Like, all right, I don't want to like go against what I said, but if you go into like the psychic of like a serial killer, like people have tried, I feel like we can predict the behavior of a serial killer or a killer in that matter. So I feel like if it was like more like going into the brain of a serial killer instead of having mutated humans that could tell the future, it would be more realistic. So overall, the Minority Report was pretty realistic in some aspects, except the mutated human. I think if we didn't have the precogs and we had more artificial intelligence, it would have been more realistic in that case. Like smart computers and stuff like that. So I feel like if they used more of that, it would have been realistic. But now thinking it was 18 years ago, 18 years changes a lot. So overall, it wasn't that far off, but we still have 35 years to see what happens in 2054, sorry. So who knows, maybe this will be a possibility.